Hey, so today I'll be talking about Lynette, her kit, and who would potentially be the best units to pair with her. But before I start discussing this, there's something I want to say first. You enjoying these videos are enough for me, so feel free to subscribe, and thank you so much for your support. I hope to reach 1,000 subs by the end of the year. So Lynette doesn't really seem to be any different from any other Anemo user. He's meant to use Anemo to swirl elements to reduce resistance through Viridescent, but delving deeper into her kit, it actually seems like this isn't the case. Lynette's elemental skill has a tap and hold option. When tapping, she will deal a quick burst of Anemo damage and gain HP. Then will proceed to lose HP for 4 seconds after doing so. The HP generation is 25% upon cast of her max HP, while her HP drain is 6% of her max HP per second, totaling to 24%. If Lynette holds her skill, she will enter into a state similar to Yelan, where she will move at increased speeds. It's unknown if she can regain stamina while in this state, so that will have to be seen upon release. In the state, she'll also apply a status on a maximum of 1 opponent nearby, and when the state ends, she will deal the same hit of Anemo damage from her tap skill. It's important to note that if the opponent is too far away, then this status applied will be cancelled. The state lasts for 2.5 seconds, and the cooldown of her skill is 12 seconds. In her elemental burst, Lynette deals initial AoE Anemo damage, and then summons a taunt that deals Anemo damage to opponents at intervals. The taunt can also absorb an element, being either Pyro, Cryo, Hydro, or Electro, and deal additional hits of damage of that absorbed element. The taunt has a duration of 12 seconds, the cooldown of 15, and the energy cost of 70 energy. Lynette's first passive is similar to one of Yunjin and Yelan's, in which for 10 seconds after using her burst, all party members gain an increase in attack based on how many different types of elements are in the party. The attack increase starts at 8% and goes up in increments of 4 until 20%. This is a nice increase in damage for other units in addition to Viridescent resistance shredding if you decide to play her as a support. Her second passive will allow the taunt from her burst to deal 15% more damage after absorbing an element. This damage increase lasts for the entire duration of its time on field. This is ultimately a small damage increase, but still appreciated nonetheless. For Lenny's C1, a vortex will be created wherever that opponent was hit with her skill after they had the status mark applied. This is a nice bit of crowd control for Lynette, seeing that the only form that she has is through her burst taunt. However, the extent of this crowd control is unknown, so this could scale from anything from a really great grouping ability or something just pretty much useless. C2 allows her taunt to deal an additional hit of absorbed elemental damage when the taunt deals said absorb elemental damage. This is a small damage increase, but can be utilized to apply elements for better reaction setup. C4 gives Lynette an extra charge of her skill, making energy generation easier and more damage. And finally, C6 is where everything changes. After her skill performs an attack that deals Anemo damage, she will gain a 20% annual damage bonus, as well as an Anemo infusion for 6 seconds. This completely changes the game, as now you can play Lynette as a true Anemo DPS, as well as an optional Anemo driver. Her C6 Anemo infusion can retain uptime consistently and quite easily due to her C4 giving her an extra charge of her skill, always ensuring that she has at least 1 charge of her skill at the ready whenever the C6 effect ends. For artifacts, I believe that the best option for versatility will obviously be the standard 4-piece Viridescent Venerer. Its dependability of shredding resistance is optimal, and Lynette can proc its effect quickly. For main DPS builds that involve her at C6, a 4-piece set of Desert Pavilion Chronicle can help boost raw Anemo damage as well as charge attacks, as long as they're properly weaved in. One of Fontaine's new artifact sets can also work as well. Its 2-piece increases normal and charge attack damage by 15%, while the 4-piece effect boosts crit rate whenever the HP of the character changes. That works in tandem with her skill ability with the HP drain and generation. And as for split sets, a 2-piece of Viridescent and 2 pieces of any of the attack percent sets are also viable. For the main stats for a support build, you'll want to look for EM on the timepiece, cup, and headpiece. For a main DPS build, you'll want attack on the timepiece, annual damage bonus on the cup, and crit rate or crit damage on the headpiece. For weapons, Lynette actually has a plethora of options. For support builds, Freedom Sword is going to probably be her best option for a support role with its insane passive and high EM substat. Vivonius is great at generating particles, but make sure Lynette has enough crit rate to proc its passive as well. Iron Sting and Tokubu Shigure are great EM options as well as providing a bit of a damage increase. And for a more ER streamlined option, Zyphos' Moonlight's passive helps turn EM into ER. Dark Iron Sword can also be utilized for its EM too, despite being a 3-star weapon. As for main DPS options, any of the three, being Mist Splitter Reforged, Light Foliar Incision, and Haran Gapaku Futsu, are great options as they all have passes that affect infused normal attacks in some way, while also giving crit for their substats. I do advise that, depending on which of these weapons you choose, give Lynette a headpiece with the other crit stat. So for example, since Mist Splitter gives crit damage, I would advise that you give her a crit rate headpiece in order to balance out the ratio. Primordial Jade Cutter and Skyward Blade are also some great all-around DPS options, with the former giving a massive crit rate substat and streamlining HP into increased damage, and the latter giving ER for better rotations as well as increased damage and attack speed. Summit Shaper is also a viable option, but only can work if you happen to run her with a shielder, for it being a massive attack stat stick. Blackcliff Longsword requires you to purchase it from the shop, but it is well worth your star glitter for crit damage that it gives. However, it does load its passive in AoE situations. And pretty much any of the other attack percent substat swords can be a good option for Lynette to take advantage of. As for the units that she can be paired with, she is more of the unit that would be fitted to any team. She can be used as a support for many teams, from Taser to Viridescent Vaporize to Aggravate. She's essentially just another Anemo unit using Viridescent that you can have in your team if you don't want to have or use other units that can fit that role. As for the main DPS/driver role, she's going to want to be paired with the usual units that can coordinate with normal and charged attacks. Qingqiu and Yulan for Hydro, Fischl and Beta for Electro, and Tomo for Pyro. To buff raw Anemo damage, Faruzan is the obvious go-to, being able to shred Anemo resistance and increase Anemo damage bonus. And depending on how Lynette functions, Yunjin could work with her too, if she happens to focus on more normal attacks than charge attacks. So yeah, this was Lynette's pre-release analysis. It sounds like she'd be a really fun character to play, either as a support or on-fielder. I'm really excited for her release. And with that, you already know what button to press if you want to see more on a regular basis, and if you have something to say, I can only hope that it's nice. Thank you, and bye!